Today is a very special show. I've been waiting a few months for this show, and I'm so excited. Today is the day. I'm Sam Laprade, and this is An Hour to Give. And this week, we're featuring L'Arche, Ottawa, with the wonderful Heather McLaughlin and her beautiful daughter, Margaret McGuinness. Hello to you both.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. Heather, I think back, I've known you for a very long time.
Yes. Yep.
And you've just got such a beautiful spirit about you, and I know how much you love L'Arche. Tell me why.
Well, I guess it's a story that began 25 years ago, and I knew about the community of L'Arche. Its beginnings, I felt it was such a special place. From what I knew about it, it would be such a nice place for Margaret to live, where she would be loved and cared for, and forgiven, embraced, celebrated. And so I went to speak to everybody at L'Arche about Margaret coming, and they said to me, "Come to community night." I said, "Okay, we'll come to community night. When is it? Monday nights." "Okay, we'll come on Monday nights for a year, and then we'll talk about Margaret coming to L'Arche." I thought, whoa, a year. It was a long time, wasn't it, Margaret?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we went to community night for a year. And what I learned in that year, being with the core members, being with the assistants, what I learned was that I needed the community as much as Margaret needed the community. And I found great peace there. I found a place to belong, a community, and I was just overwhelmed, I guess. And that I would call my first transformational experience in the community. Oh. And Margaret got to the point where she would say to me, "Who's taking me to community night, Dad or Mom?"
Yeah. So you really loved it, eh, Margaret? You really loved it.
I really enjoyed community night.
You did.
And we just talked about celebrating, and let's celebrate, Margaret, because you just shared with me before we jumped on the show today that you're celebrating 20 years with L'Arche. How amazing is that?
It is.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to be there for 20 years?
It means I have my own place, and
You talked about assistants who love you
I talked about assistants who love me,
and care about you.
care about me.
And you know, we talk about the journey of an assistant. We talk about assistants walking with core members. Margaret's a core member. And they're not staff, they're people who create a life together. Right. The homes, Margaret's, what's the name of your house?
Wabana.
And who lives at Wabana?
Grace, Eamon, Julian.
They're assistants.
And Lila is a live-out house leader.
Right.
That's amazing. You know that I'm a mom. And I think as moms, we only, no matter what our children do in life, we want to make sure they're loved. Is that what this is about for you?
Yeah. That's what it's about. And Margaret has had some different house leaders, and all of them have been so wonderful and capable. In fact, in your fourth interview, Jen was the house leader at Wabana at one point, wasn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, you like Jen, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
And what are some of the activities, Margaret, would you participate in with everyone in the house? Are you cooking together? Are you doing activities together? What does a regular day look like?
Well, I go to my program 3 days per week.
And sometimes you cook, don't you?
And sometimes I cook with supervision.
And you like doing arts and crafts?
And I like doing arts and crafts.
Going for walks?
Yeah.
Where do you go for a walk?
in Collingwood.
Yeah, Carlingwood's a great
Yeah.
place to go for walks.
Yeah.
And it's quality of life here. Let's be honest, Heather,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's the endless opportunities that Margaret would have on an everyday
That's
basis.
right. And you know, but really, there are many communities similar to L'Arche in the Ottawa area, and but what sets us apart, and what sets us apart is the celebration of life. We get together as a community. You know, it used to be once a week. It's fewer now, but we get together as a community and we celebrate anniversaries. You know, the day that they arrived at that crew members arrived at the community. Anniversaries of assistants. There's some assistants who've been there for 10, 20 years.
Right.
And new assistants come. Margaret's home, Eamon is from,
Tunisia,
Julian is from,
Germany,
and Grace
Kenya,
and Valentina.
Mexico,
And Lila is from?
Germany.
So it's very diverse. And you know, assistants arrive and they're just welcomed by corps members, you know, big hearts. And they just work into the homes and they learn to be with people with intellectual disabilities.
She has the whole world in that house.
Yes.
It's amazing, really. It is really amazing. What would you want someone to know about L'Arche that might have heard about the organization but doesn't have that intimate knowledge like you do? Because I think until you have a loved one that requires a L'Arche, you may not understand the inner workings. What would you want us to know?
Well, that we are a community, a place of belonging, that our commitment is lifelong, that we bring people together, and you know, we're opening our doors a bit now, and people who are going to be interviewed are in the next hour are going to talk about the new programming that we have. You know, we're a family. We really are a family. And Margaret broke her shoulder, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And I spent a couple of nights at Wabana. It's the first time in 20 years I've actually stayed overnight, slept in Margaret's bed. You had to sleep on the lazy boy, which you
Yeah,
did
which
not
I
like.
did not like.
You didn't like it at all. And, you know, I got to know the assistants again. And they're such special people. And when I arrive in the home and I take Margaret, we go and do something, or something's happened, they tell me they understand. You know, they're so committed to life in the homes and being a family. I mean, it turns out they need us as much as we need them.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And Margaret, do you have lots of friends that you hang out with? I know we all were in the green room getting ready for an hour to give today, the show, and you were all greeting each other. Is it fun to see your friends?
Yeah. I spend time with Chastity, who I've known since high school.
Yeah, Chastity, the first community night we went to, Chastity was there, and it was so funny that Margaret knew somebody there in the room. Yeah. It was really lovely. So she and Chastity have been good friends. And Joe.
And Joe.
Pierre.
Pierre.
Pierre was, at one point, was my secret fundraiser.
Oh, I love that.
He could convince a donor to do anything.
Oh, that's
you know?
Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
Speaking about fundraising, I mean, this is another part of it, right? I mean, this is an organization that relies on donor funding.
Yep.
Yeah, so
We
tell me a
do.
little bit about that.
Well, you need to have a look at our database. But we have donors who've been giving for years, and some of them know our founding story and care deeply about that. Some of them just you know, have been on one of our boards, and they stay committed. They stay. You know, they're there. They come to the homes. This is another thing we do. We do shared supper, right?
Yeah.
And at shared supper, you know, we have 5 homes in Ottawa, and the homes will get together and share dinner.
Oh.
And board members will come to those dinners, and it's a lot of fun. And we have Christmas parties, right?
Yeah.
And tonight is, what's tonight?
A birthday party for my housemate, Heather.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So people are coming to that.
Yeah.
And everybody looks forward to those kinds of things, to connect, to be together, you know, to share stories.
Margaret, what do you want to say to your mom and her help when it comes to everything that she's done at L'Arche? Want to say thank you to her?
Thanks, Mom.
You're welcome, Margaret.
And I have a picture in my room of Tenderheart.
And who's Tenderheart?
Tenderheart was the Portuguese water dog I had for a while.
Yeah.
And Margaret's room is lovely.
Oh, I bet. I bet. She has beautiful, a collection of stuffed animals too, Margaret, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she has drawings on the wall by my mother. And she has photographs of her family, her brother and sisters and nieces and one nephew. And yeah.
So not only a family you're living with, but celebrating
Yeah.
the core family as well.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing that is.
Yeah.
We've got so much to talk about today. Lots of great guests. Thanks so much for coordinating all of our great guests we're going to get a chance to chat with. I love having a mother and a daughter on, and you've kicked off our show beautifully. Margaret, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing all those good words about L'Arche, Ottawa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you as always, Heather. I appreciate it very much. Heather McLaughlin, of course, and her beautiful daughter, Margaret McGuinness, joining us today. We're just getting started, everyone. L'Arche, Ottawa, featured on An Hour to Give. This week we're featuring L'Arche, Ottawa. This is An Hour to Give. You're going to get to know some incredible people today, and we're going to start with Louise Roberge and, of course, Joe Donegan. Great to have them here. Hello, you both.
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Lovely to have you here.
Yeah.
Louise, I'm going to start with you. Okay. You're a community board member, long-term volunteer. Tell me a little bit about your involvement with L'Arche, Ottawa.
Yeah, I started off as a volunteer trying to help a core member use computers. And so email, watch YouTubes and that type of thing. And once you get involved with L'Arche, you get hooked and get more. It's really hard not to get more and more involved. So it's been a great 14 years.
Oh, that's 14 years.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. And I know we do a lot of celebrating at L'Arche.
Yes, we do.
That's something to celebrate, Joe, that Louise has been with us for 14 years at L'Arche.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Tell me a little bit about your involvement with L'Arche.
Well, I started on L'Arche in the year 2000, so I've been there 24 years.
So
I've lived at 3 different group homes. I'm back to the one I was originally at Wabana, but I've lived at La Source. I've lived at and I've lived in my own place. I was an independent living for a couple of years, but for 11 years. But then I needed a little bit more extra help, so I moved back to where I was originally.
That's wonderful. Well, they're so glad you're here. I know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And, to see Joe and to see him come back to L'Arche and experience everything there, to see
I've lived in L'Arche during this time, but I was I was an independent for 11 years.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to
supported
know.
by
L'Arche as well. Excellent.
But
Okay.
living in his own little apartment.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. That's important for sure. When you see people thrive like Joe, does that make it all worthwhile?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's good to see different ways how we can support people. So while he was living alone, we were able to offer some help. When he needed more, he comes into our homes, and there he receives another kind of support and has another lifestyle.
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
different. So
Tell me about your everyday. What's a day in the life of Joe like at L'Arche?
Well, I've retired. I had a couple of jobs. I worked in Agriculture Canada. I worked a couple of years doing just other things, and I go to. They've got some new programs. They started in the process of starting new programs. On Saturdays, I do the culinary program at the office. I'm going to start to be doing the socials in April, and I've also done the swimming program on Mondays too. So,
Wow.
So I'm going to be doing a little bit, but a little more fun than doing actual work.
Well, I have to tell you, Joe, I thought I was busy. You're busier than I am.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that. And just the variety of programming as well, Louise. How important do you think that is for Joe and his friends?
Absolutely, and people have different tastes, so it's pick and choose, drop in. So there's different interests for different participants.
Which is wonderful. The history of L'Arche, 50 years. I just about fell off my chair. I
Yeah,
had
it's a
no
long time.
idea.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of the background.
So there was one home which was bought by L'Arche, and mostly French-speaking residents at the time, and then it grew to 5 and 6 homes. We're still looking at upgrading one of the homes so that we have people that have been here since the beginning. We have core members who are in their late 70s and have been with us since the beginning. They're aging, so our homes need to be updated, just like
Like everybody's home,
like
right?
everybody, any senior's
Yeah.
home. So that's a preoccupation. How do we keep up to and meet their needs as they age in our homes?
Yeah.
What would you want someone to know, Joe, about L'Arche, that you get that inside look as a core member? What would you want someone to know about the great work at L'Arche?
Well, we work with different people. We've got different, like we did foot washing the other night, there's different groups, different types of religions, different types of just groups. Like we've got about 5 different groups in our home. They come from different countries, like in as Margaret said, Kenya, Germany, what's the other one?
Mexico, I think,
Mexico
was there.
and Mali.
Yeah.
So we've and there's a whole pile of other different types of people that have come in. I've had people from the Czech Republic and a lot of stuff, and
Yeah, which is wonderful. It's like I said to Margaret, it's like having the whole world in your house, which is great.
Yeah, it's very international.
Yeah, very international, which
Yeah.
is that diversity, which is really important as
Yeah.
well. So give us a sense, Louise. I mean, I think you could be obviously you're a very busy person. Why choose to volunteer at L'Arche? You could do anything. Why L'Arche?
I think it's the personal relationship. Like, it's not just an organization. I mean, over time, they're your friends, right? I mean, you can't let them down. And I get as much out of it, if not more, than I contribute. So I mean, it's addictive.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, there's a kick to the other people and all that stuff.
Yeah, to have all those friends. What do you like doing? Is there any special activities? Because I know you do a lot of celebrating at L'Arche.
Yeah, well, we like to have birthday parties. We like to have. I've been doing some international meetings and some national and provincial meetings. I really enjoyed those. I kind of missed those before the
Pandemic?
Pandemic, yeah. We used to have a foosball tournament every year. Hopefully, we can go back to that.
I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
a great idea. I mean, looking forward, right? Taking, looking at all of the opportunities to sort of look forward. That 5-year plan. Where are we heading, Louise?
So, improving our homes to accommodate aging core members is a priority. We also wanted to expand our reach beyond our core members living in our homes, and saying, so I mean, there's a lot of people with disabilities in the city who need some kind of support. They may not live in our homes, but how can we improve their quality of life? How can we embrace them in our community and give them some a community to belong to. So this is why we're really building up and our day program so that we can certainly provide activities for people who live in our homes, but also people who might still be living with their parents, or perhaps they're living on their own with some help and need or want to participate in activities and be part of a community. So that is really a big priority right now, and to grow that.
Yeah, which is exciting. Those are exciting plans.
Is.
Yeah.
It sure is.
We used to have a day program, but we wanted to have a change because after the pandemic, a lot of people kind of got older and couldn't do it, and then there were younger people coming in, so it sort of expanded people's interests.
That's great. That's fantastic. So we were talking earlier about the beautiful homes. Tell me a little bit about your room. Have you made your room reflective of the things that you like, Joe?
Well, I downstairs in there's a downstairs apartment at Wabana that I've kind of made it into my own. And I've been living out of there. I've got my own TV. I've got my own TV. I've got my own computer. I do other things, but I do have my meals upstairs. So it's sort of a bit of a semi-independent living type of deal.
Without the cooking.
Without the cooking.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, well, some people cook the meals for me.
Yeah,
and
for sure,
and that's a good thing too.
That is a good thing.
Because it's sometimes when you're eating alone, you could think of some things that are not very good for you.
Yeah, but I think that's great to have that opportunity to have that family feeling, right? Every single day.
Yeah.
Does it feel like family for you, Joe?
Yeah, it's sort of my second family.
Yeah. Which is a
Yeah.
great feeling, right?
I had my own family. Like I had three brothers and my mom and dad, and we lived in the West End. But it's sort of my second family now. So.
Second family. It sounds like a pretty good family, and with all of these extra family members that come in to help, does it feel like family for you?
It does. It does. There's something about walking into a home and just feeling welcome, and you don't have to put up any pretenses. You can just be yourself. Yeah. Just like when you walk into your family
Do you feel
member's home.
like that, Joe? Do you feel like you can just be the Joe you're meant to be?
Yeah, at times I can. Sometimes I sort of forget because I live alone. I'm relearning my how to live in a group home after living alone. But it's very helpful, and it's a learning process. So.
What would you say to someone that's watching, listening to us right now, and thinking that they'd like to volunteer for L'Arche d'Ottawa?
Go for it. Go for it. You'll get a lot out of it, and there's definitely a need and so many opportunities. We have so many programs. Regardless of what you're interested in, I'm sure we can find a role for you, whether you want to you enjoy cooking, you enjoy art, you have some talents with computers, whatever. There's definitely a place for you.
For sure. So you're doing some culinary stuff, some swimming. Do you like the arts and crafts side?
I don't mind it. I don't go there because I've had a couple of things that have happened this year that are personal.
Okay.
But I'm thinking about maybe going back into some of that stuff.
Okay, that sounds like fun. You look like a creative guy to me. So yeah, you have to get that creative side going, right?
Yeah. I think I am creative. And other things. I think of other things. So.
Well, that's wonderful. It has been my honor to have you here today and to have all of your friends here. We've chatted with Margaret already. Yeah. You brought more friends with you, though, Joe.
We have one more, I think.
I can't wait. I can't wait. So thank you so much for joining us, of course.
Thanks for having us.
Joe Dunnigan here today and Louise Robert. Thanks for everything you do as well, Louise, for the organization. Appreciate it very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much. Well, we're going to stay with us here on An Hour to Give. Stay with us, everyone. As I said, more friends are coming from L'Arche, Ottawa.
Okay.
Silas Tedamenti and Divine are here today representing L'Arche, Ottawa. I can't wait to get to know them. Let's do that now. Silas, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so happy. And Divine, you came as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. Silas, tell me a little bit about how you're involved with L'Arche, Ottawa.
Well, I'm here for a 4-month co-op term from my university. It's my first one, and I am a full-time assistant at our current day program that's going on.
Okay, wonderful. And do you work with Silas, Divine? Do you get to interact with him?
Yeah,
Yeah. And what's that like for you? Do you have fun?
yeah. I do. I do the baking.
Baking. What do you bake?
We bake pizzas.
That sounds good. I haven't eaten today, so that sounds really delicious. That sounds great. And Silas, tell me a little bit about the term day program. Many people may not know what that means. Walk us through the details there.
Yeah, well, basically, it is just a program running 6 out of the 7 days a week, and every day we have at least 2 different activities for the core members and the participants to engage in. We have a variety of different things, but it ranges from music making to art to baking, like Divine mentioned. And yeah, there's just a variety of things. Different people come every day so they can pick and choose what they'd like to engage in, what they have time for, and really just, it's a place for them to come together and interact with each other, be social, and work on their interests and develop new skills, essentially.
And Divine, you have fun. You have fun baking. Is there anything else you like to do? What's another favorite activity?
Every week, when Uri comes, I do the DJ. I put on the DJ and I put one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. What's a favorite?
Ava Max.
Ava Max. Okay. I'll have to check that out. That sounds pretty cool. And the variety, I think, is so important, Silas. I think, from what I understand, the variety really keeps people engaged and really does tailor to everybody's different interests, right?
Because, yeah, I suppose it'd just be a lot more stagnant if we had the same thing every day. And the different variety, I think, allows lots of different core members to come on different days, so they get to see different people each day, different facilitators coming in, and just, I think, helps build that larger sense of community, getting to interact with different people rather than just maybe the same 4 or 5 every single time they come.
Yeah. No, the variety is really nice for sure. And you've got music and baking and the opportunity to go and visit lots of friends. Who do you hang out with when you go to visit? Is there someone that you're always looking forward to seeing? Is there a special friend?
Yeah.
Yeah? Anybody you want to mention? Give them a shout out on TV?
Yeah.
Yeah? Who's that?
People from our church.
Yeah, people from your church. That's wonderful. So that's what's great too, right? This is community. This is family. As a student, tell me a little bit about how you got into this line of work.
Well, it's my first co-op term,
Yeah.
and what I was looking to do is kind of build more foundational skills and people skills. And through the job search, I actually discovered L'Arche for the first time. I actually initially applied as a house assistant, a residential assistant, but after I got the job, they asked me if I'd be interested in doing the day program, because it was just starting up in January. It's very new, and from the sounds of it, I thought it'd just be a great opportunity to get to know more than just the people in one house and engage in them on a more kind of personal level. Well, not to say the houses aren't personal, that's an incredibly deep connection they have, but in a way more just engaging in activities with them and exploring different things alongside them in a way that only kind of the day program offers an opportunity to do.
For sure, for sure. And I think, Divine, when you think about all of the wonderful people like Silas that work with you, it must be lovely to get a chance to spend time with all of them on a weekly basis too. Yeah, you enjoy that? Yeah. I can't help but see that everyone's so connected. And I keep talking about when everyone coming into the green room today, it felt very family oriented. Is that a surprise to you as a student in a role like this?
Yeah, it actually was. When I first read the job description, because I didn't really have much knowledge on these kind of organizations, these kinds of situations earlier to coming in. So from just prior knowledge, I guess, I thought it'd be a lot more clinical, but that's not it at all. Like the homes that the people are in, that I visited, that I live at, they're close knit. Like one of the assistants there always says, we're a family, and it really is. All the meal times together, celebrations.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about trust, because I think with family, there's trust. With family, with community, you build that trust over time. How do you, as somebody that's newly introduced into this organization, build that trust? And how important is it that, that the families also trust that you're going to support people in the best way possible?
I think the trust, at least in terms of the day program, or in everything, I suppose, is just gradually built up over time. Like I've seen in the last 3 months since the beginning of the day program, at the beginning of the activities, there were a lot of core members that maybe weren't comfortable with the situation or just still getting used to it because, again, it just newly started and weren't perhaps participating as much. But now, 3 months later, people have kind of figured out what they like. They've become a lot more comfortable in the community center with the program itself and the people around them. And you see everyone engaging a lot more, like in the music classes, maybe starting to play the instruments on their own without needing to be encouraged, supporting each other, like the other core members, and kind of just all sharing together.
You were mentioning, Divine, that you like to bake pizza. What kind of pizza do you like to bake?
I like baking pepperoni pizzas.
That's my favorite. What else do you like to do?
Fish.
Yeah, you like to make some fish. What else? Anything else? So you like music, you like baking. Those are two amazing things. Is there a third thing we can add to the list? Is there something else that you enjoy doing?
Coloring.
I love coloring too. Yeah. Do you color like worksheets?
Yeah.
Yeah, coloring books and stuff. Yeah. I mean, those are.
I like coloring my les to back.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. And so the variety, like we spoke about, is so key. What would you say to somebody that is maybe a student looking for a placement, wanting to get in the same line of work? How would you encourage them to choose L'Arche as a spot where they would have these wonderful relationships and experiences?
I think I just say, like, it doesn't even feel like a job. Like, there's no kind of stress or pressure with it. You're just supporting everyone like you would anyone else, building friendships, building relationships, and just having the opportunity to do a bunch of fun activities alongside them. Like, it's not clinical at all. It's not like, I don't know, a cubicle office job like you might find elsewhere.
La prière intensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I understand that 100%, that you have the opportunity to really, you're helping somebody also build their life and make the most out of every single day, right? Yeah, it's so beautiful. And you have the opportunity to connect with everybody. Do you do a lot of celebrating at L'Arche, I understand? Do you celebrate at the day program too?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you celebrate? Birthdays? Special holidays?
We celebrate tons of years and holidays.
Yes, yes. The Easter Bunny is coming this weekend. Are you excited about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Easter Bunny will probably come to the day program, maybe. Yes, maybe.
When?
I don't know. Maybe sometime. Maybe sometime soon. Because that would be the kind of thing, right, that would be very exciting to have those kind of activities. Maybe you can do some coloring of some Easter eggs. Would that be fun? Yeah. So those opportunities are so key as well, to have those opportunities to celebrate and keep on trend with what's happening in the world. Yeah, yeah. So give us a sense, how many people would you be working with, and you indicated you're there for about 4 months. How many people are you working with on a daily basis?
Well, it depends on the program. Some of them are a lot smaller, and we only have 4 to 5 core members, but there are some larger ones, like the hip hop dancing on Saturday afternoons, where we get, I think it's like 10 or 11. And even beyond that, like, that's just at where it's at now. But we're hoping to build a lot more and get a lot more people from within and outside the L'Arche community involved, and kind of just share this with everyone.
Are you doing some hip hop, Divine? Do you like doing hip hop?
Yes, I like doing hip hop.
Yeah, I like doing that hip hop stuff too. Keeps us young and fun, right? Yeah.
We're having a show in that upcoming summer of 2024.
Fantastic. I'd love to know what date. I might just be there and
June
cheer you on.
1st.
June 1st, okay.
It's at Ottawa U.
Okay. I'll go there to cheer you on. Does that sound good? Yeah, that sounds good. What would you say if you look back, you know, if you go 10 years from now and you look back on your time with L'Arche, how will you remember it?
I think I'd say it's just a really pivotal point, I find, just at the beginning of my journey kind of into adulthood, finding out how to interact with so many different people, how to support and build relationships with anyone, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. I think it's such a beautiful opportunity to have this as part of your journey, and I think it's pivotal too. I mean, I've had these kinds of opportunities in my life, and they always I look back on them so fondly, and know that they made such a difference in my life. So I think there's no difference with you, Silas. I think that's amazing. Any words of advice for those that might be starting to look at L'Arche as maybe a place for maybe their loved one?
I'd say just take the chance.
Yeah.
Maybe check it out. We have a bunch of different opportunities, like some of the others before have mentioned, to kind of just slowly become involved in the community. But I'd say if you take that first leap, then there's no way you'll end up regretting it. It's a great place here.
What a beautiful way to end our chat today. Silas, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Divine. Appreciate your time today. Lots of people joining us today to represent L'Arche Ottawa, and we're so happy that they're here. We have one more opportunity to meet some wonderful friends at L'Arche. Here's an hour to give, and you're going to come on back. I'm Sam Laprade. Vince Kizmierski is here with me today, as well as Jen Cadieux. It's so wonderful to be here and talking all about L'Arche Ottawa. Vince, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much, Jen.
It's a pleasure.
Vince, let's start with you.
Sure.
Tell me about your role with L'Arche Ottawa.
Sure. Well, I'm actually a board member of L'Arche Canada, and I've been there for about 10 years. But I'm also a donor to L'Arche Ottawa, and in particular, I'm really excited to be a donor to their day program and how they're evolving over time.
And we just talked about the day program, the variety. What I love about it is everyone gets to be themselves because you've got so much there. Someone we heard from Divine likes baking and music and likes to get involved in all sorts of stuff like that. But someone that might not be their thing, but you have something for them too.
Exactly. You know, I'm interested in these day programs because I had a brother with Down syndrome, and he passed away last year after suffering through dementia. And he had a really independent life, but at the end of his life, when he had dementia, he really needed to have the opportunity to participate in settings with other people, and that kind of diminished as his kind of capacity diminished. And after he passed away, I actually went to L'Arche Ottawa and I said, what are you doing? What can you do to help support people who are in the same situation as my brother? And they started to talk about, we really want to expand our day programs. And for me, that's perfect because those types of programs that they're developing now would have been perfect for him, particularly the fact that there's so much variety. So, I know one of the day programs they offer has some meditation. Greg would have hated that.
Yeah.
He would have never wanted to go there because he was so vibrant and he loved the social aspects, but he would have loved the dancing and he would have loved the singing and he would have loved the instruments. And so the fact that they've got so much variety would have been perfect for him.
Yeah. And Jen, you've got a very important role. Tell us what you do.
So I'm the program coordinator and the volunteer coordinator for L'Arche Ottawa. So I'm running the program, I'm supervising, I'm making sure there's enough support, I'm welcoming new corps members, I'm training assistants, and all the other administrative tasks that go along with that in the background. It's very
amazing.
busy.
And you know, when I think about people that have gone through this with a loved one in terms of passport funding and working out how that model works, it is complicated. Walk me through this, Jen. Help me understand it a little bit.
Well, I'm not sure I can walk you through it too well because I'm still trying to learn it. But basically, the members that are live-in L'Arche Ottawa, they have about 5,000 that they get in a year for programming and for social activities. So that goes very quickly. So we're trying to get more donors like Vince to help us be able to offer the programs to everyone all year, because that 5,000 goes very fast. It goes within 2-3 months. And the people who live with their families still, they get a little bit more. I'm not sure on the details of that, but they do get a little bit more for programming and respite. So it's a little bit easier for them to access our services.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, to Jen's point about, you know, it doesn't go far, and that's why the donor piece is so important here. And I'm sorry about the loss of your brother, but knowing that you can make this impact for others as a donor, is that where the reward is for you?
I mean, for me, it's just super important that, you know, we help to develop something that my brother wasn't able to access, that we make sure that these types of programs are available. And I'm really excited that L'Arche is doing this because, you know, L'Arche's approach is not just about providing support. L'Arche really believes in the gifts of people with intellectual disabilities, and it really believes in the power of relationship. And that really reflected, you know, our family's approach with my brother. My brother had so many gifts to give, but one of the most important gifts was his ability to create connections with people and to create relationships. And that's really what L'Arche does. They really celebrate the gifts that people with intellectual disabilities have, whether it's in their homes or in their day programs, but they've really focused on the importance of building relationship among the people who are coming to their programs or living in their homes, but also among the members who are, you know, volunteers and who are assistants. It's not just about, oh, well, you're a corps member, we support you. That's not the model at all. And so for me, it's really important to be supporting a set of programs that are about building relationship, not just support.
Now, I understand your dear brother had a nickname.
Yeah.
And that nickname was the Mayor.
That's right.
Because he was so beloved in the community. And I'll tell you, I'll go back in time when your brother passed away. I did the most beautiful interview, one that stands out in my heart and mind all the time, with a gentleman who owned a restaurant.
Right.
And we spoke about the impact of your brother on that restaurant, but on the restaurant, on the community, and how he was so beloved and missed.
Yeah.
Those opportunities to be in the community, not brought into the community, the community. When you think back to those opportunities that have been given to your brother, this is what you're hoping is your legacy as well.
I mean, absolutely, and we were blessed because Greg had a level of independence. He was able to work at a, you know, in a grocery store for 35 years. He went out and he made his own community. Like he went to that restaurant and inculcated himself there, right? He would go to the neighborhood pub. But as he got older and the dementia started, he wasn't able to do that as much. And it's really at that point where it would have been so helpful to have a program like the programs that L'Arche Ottawa is developing, where he wouldn't just go for support, but he'd go to continue building community in a new environment, right? And he'd have that opportunity to be celebrated for who he was, not just as a participant. And so to be able to, you know, now, you know, donate and, you know, have that be part of his legacy as well, to support other people in that possibility is really meaningful for us and for our entire family.
So when the alarm goes off in the morning, is this what you're jumping out of bed to do? Make these connections?
Yes, definitely. When we arrive in the morning, I arrive before everyone, but once they start arriving, they ring the doorbell and they come in. It's this big song that plays in our community center. So I go upstairs and we say hi and we have coffee and tea, and kind of talk about how their evening was and what they're excited to do for the day. Sometimes they have some jokes and stories to tell us from home. Other times they need some space, so they take their space and relax in on a couch or something. So it's really, there's always lots of energy and lots of love in the community center.
Lots of love. And I had said to Heather earlier, I mean, as a mom, you just really want your children to be loved, right? I mean, at the end of the day, what they do with their lives, is their love. Are they loving and are they loved? Right. So talk to me a little bit about, I always think about philanthropy as time, talent, and treasure. So obviously, as a board member for L'Arche Canada, the time and the talent is there. This gift is the treasure piece. I think about monthly donors, and I think about someone that can give an annual gift. All of it's going to make a difference, whether it's $50 or $500 or $5,000. So talk to me a little bit about how the money's used.
Yeah, I mean, let me talk first about those different ways of giving, because I'm a donor to L'Arche Canada because I believe in the mission of the national organization, and I'm a monthly donor to them. For L'Arche Ottawa, it's interesting because when Greg was still alive, we weren't part of the community. We weren't members, but we were friends of the community. And so when I turned 50, instead of holding a party, what we decided to do we would take some money and we would ask our friends to donate to L'Arche Ottawa, and I would match that money. And then we also went on. We participated in the the National Capital Race weekend as part of their fundraising, and Greg was so excited to be a part of that. So Greg himself was a donor to L'Arche Ottawa, and he encouraged our friends to do that. And so there's lots, as you say, there's lots of different ways. After Greg passed away, our family asked for our friends and his friends, rather than to pay towards flowers, to donate to L'Arche Ottawa as part of their tribute to him. And they raised, an incredible amount of money in his memory. And we, as a family now have said, we want that gift to be really directed towards the day programs. And so, it's really important to kind of search out these different ways that you can become a supporter of these really incredible programs and opportunities that I don't think actually exist in other places. Like, this is a really unique opportunity to give, and I'm not a wealthy donor, but I'm happy to kind of donate where I can, where I see it's going to really make a difference.
What I know is that richness is defined very differently. And rich with family is the best kind of rich.
Absolutely.
Oh. So tell me a little bit about this day program and where you want to take it. Where do you see it in 5 years? Because I know it's just starting, but where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, so before the 5 years comes up, we're working towards a couple of social enterprises. So we're starting to build skills with the core members in different programs like the culinary arts or the pet sitting program to offer dog walking services or pet sitting services, feeding fish when people are away on vacation, or feeding cats, cleaning litter boxes, things like that. And our dream in the next 5 years is to have a little cafe where the core members are all working and have their jobs, serving coffee and making muffins and maybe pizza, and maybe selling their pieces of art and cards that they make in their art program. So we have lots of dreams and plans that we're working towards.
Divine loves to make pizza.
She really does. She's made pizza twice, and she just loves it.
There you go. Just wanted to let you know on that piece of information. It has been such a joyful hour, and I get really emotional because I've had the opportunity to know Heather for a really long time, and you bump into Heather at the mall, she talks about L'Arche. You bump into Heather at the grocery store. It does not matter. And we spoke obviously with Heather earlier, but seeing her and her daughter and seeing all of our guests today, and I've asked this of other people, but I'd love your perspective. If somebody is either thinking, I want to become a donor, or is this the right place for a loved one? Give us that. If we're jumping on an elevator with you, what are you telling me?
Well, for me, if my brother had not been able to live with his family, with my sister's family and my family, we split his time. We had to divide up his time. We loved his presence so much. But if he hadn't been able to live with us, I would have wanted him to live at L'Arche. It was a perfect reflection of the way in which we built relationship with him. And for donors, I think that, you know, L'Arche is transformational. And it doesn't just transform the lives of the core members, the people who are living there with intellectual disabilities. It transforms the lives of the assistants, of the volunteers, of the board members. As a board member, when I go to L'Arche Canada meetings, I never leave one of those meetings without feeling uplifted in what we're doing and the impact we're making, but also uplifted in the way in which my interactions with core members impact my life. And so my relationship with my brother was one of the most transformational of my life. My relationship with L'Arche is a close second.
Wow. And what would you say to somebody that is thinking maybe L'Arche is where I want to work?
L'Arche is really great. It, like Silas said, it doesn't feel like a job when you're with the core members. It's really just living together, sharing life moments, building mutual relationships. I lived in the house for a couple years ago, and I lost my grandparents at that time. And the core members were very compassionate and very empathetic. And you know, they were just they gave you a shoulder to cry on, just like we would them. So those are really the moments that make you really want to share L'Arche with everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me. Vince and Jen joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
To all of our guests today, of course, spending time with us talking about the wonderful organization L'Arche Ottawa. Now, let me correct myself. It's actually a family. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And I hope you learned a lot today on An Hour to Give. Check out L'Arche Ottawa when you get a chance. Look forward to seeing you next time.